Hello, quick video for GCSE and use of the cosine rule. Well, we use this to find missing sides or angles of a scalene triangle. And is our formula a squared equals b squared plus c squared, which you'll recognize as Pythagoras. But now as the angle is not a right angle, then we've got this additional term minus 2bc cos A. And we can use it in the sort of example we've got here on the left, where I know two sides and the angle between them, and I want to find the side opposite the angle. To use cosine rule, it's essential that we either have two side lengths and the angle between those two sides, or three side lengths. Just remember, we talked about the sine rule, we have to have a convention for naming our sides and angles. The sides are little a, little b, little c, and the angles are big A, big B, and big C. And it's essential that side little a is opposite angle big A, side little c is opposite angle big B, and side little c is opposite angle big C. We could change the order of this. We could call that one A, B, and C angles. But if that's the B, then the side opposite must be little b, and if this is the angle C, that must be the side little c to make the equation work. Let's use this now with an example problem. Okay, here we have an example where we know these two sides are 50 and 95. That angle is 30. And what do we need to find? We need to find this side, opposite side A. Here's our formula, and what we can do is we can just put the values in here because we're trying to find A. So we don't know A, but we do know B and C. 50, it doesn't matter which way we call them, but just to do it, let's call that B, shall we? And we'll call that little c. That would be big angle big C, wouldn't it? So I know B and C, that's 50 and 95. And then I know this B and C, it repeats again, and I know the angle A as well. So if I substitute those values in, I get 50 squared plus 95 squared minus 2 lots of 50 times 95 times cos of 30 is the angle. I'm going to do it in steps here. So 50 squared is 2,500, 95 squared is 9,025, and this big multiple at the front here, 2 times 50 times 95 is 9500, and the cos is 0.86. So coming down another level, the first two side lengths add up to 11,525, and this adjustment for a non-right angle is 8277. So therefore we have a squared equals 3297 and some decimals. And all we have to do now is to square root that value to get the answer, which is 57. And we can do all of that in our calculator, and that's pretty straightforward. So now let's go on and try another example where we're missing the angle. So here we're looking for that angle, but we know all three sides. So for our formula then, if that's A, that's going to be little a, isn't it? Sorry, and the other sides can be little b and little c. So it's important that we get those two aligned in our position. So here we know little a is 70, little b is 50, little c is 95, and we also know that angle, we don't know that angle A. That's what we're going to find. If we just put the values in, we've got 70 squared equals 50 squared plus 95 squared minus 2 times 50 times 95, all multiplied by this unknown cos A. What I want to do is get cos A on its own, isn't it? So I don't like the fact it's got a minus sign there. So if I change the signs on the whole equation and just change the order, put that at the front, I now got cos A multiplied by this value at the front, 2 times 50 times 95. But I've also got this the two sides B and C being squared taken away from it, and that's my A on the other side. It's now got sign change. I don't really want these on this side, do I? The 50 and the squared and the 95. I want to get the A on its own. So if I add 50 squared and 95 squared to both sides of this equation, then I'm just left with this term here, and I'm going to move that to the left hand side. So here's my adding 50 squared here and 95 squared, and there's the 70 squared coming over, and then minus 70 squared there. So I've now got that as the top. So as you can see, I've got the two sides there added together, squared and added together, and then I've got the other side taken away there, squared and taken away. I now want to get rid of this multiplied by the 2 times 50 times 95. So how do I do that? If I've got cos times those, then I divide by them. So effectively my formula just gets rearranged. So cos A on its own is the 50 squared plus the 95 squared. Take away the 70 squared from the which is the other side, divided by 2 times 50 times 95, which gives us 0.67. As I said in the previous video, in the old days we'd have had to go and look at that, and knowing that's cos angle of A, to find A we'd have had to go to some tables and look at what that ratio related to. But now in our calculator we can just do inverse cos, or cos minus 1 of that value, and it will tell us immediately that we've got 46 degrees for the value. So that's how we use the cosine rule. And finally, here are the principles. Here's the rule itself, a formula, and we're either going to need 2 side lengths and the angle between those sides, or 3 side lengths to use this formula. There you go. Hope that's of use.